Ja, jeg sidder så her med Arkane Studios, der arbejder på det nye kapitel i Dishonoreds-serien, Death of the Outsider, og jeg har lead level designer and lead game designer here with us, and we're gonna talk a bit about this new upcoming standalone expansion we have planned for the Dishonored series.
Sure.
So if we can get a brief overview and maybe a summary to all the people out there about where this game is taking place and what characters we can expect.
So basically, Death of the Outsider is, as you said, a standalone adventure in the Dishonored universe, and for us, it's we like to say it's the last chapter of the Kaldwin era, which is basically what happens in Dishonored 1, the assassination of the Empress, the DLCs that revolve around like the rise of Delilah and Dauds as a character,
right.
and Billy, by the way. And then Dishonored 2, what happens when Delilah takes over the throne and usurps the throne in Dunwall. And basically this is the last chapter of this saga,
right.
I would say. So it's directly linked to the DLCs of Dishonored 1, as you can expect, because we are playing Billy Lurk, we are going to see Dauds, etc. Yes. And I would say that the silver thread, of the universe, which is like the outsider, is also a very big topic in the story, as you can imagine from the title.
Of course.
So yes, this is basically like, I would say, the next chapter of this saga. It's taking place in Karnaca, the same city as Dishonored 2.
Right.
It's taking place a few months, I would say, after Dishonored 2, and it's also quite disconnected from the events of Dishonored 2. It's a kind of a self-contained story compared to the events of like the end of Dishonored 2, I would say.
So Corvo and Emily were doing their own thing, and now Billy and Dauds.
Yeah, the canon story is like they're back to Dunwall, and they're doing their thing there, and the fact that you can still beat up guards and kill the regular army of the place is that you're supposed to be a criminal. As Billy Lurk, you're supposed to be a thief and an assassin. And that's why you're wanted by the guards. Because, of course, at the end of Dishonored, the good guys are supposed to be in charge, and that's not the case here. I mean, that's the case, but you are supposed to be the bad guy now, and you're doing your thing. So that's why you're still fighting guards after Dishonored 2.
Speaking of being the bad guy, how are you going about the idea of presenting it to players? Well, you're gonna kill your creator. How did you go about that?
I wouldn't say he's your creator. That's because it's not.
Well, with the powers in the first game.
But Billy Lurk doesn't have the mark. She's not marked by the outsider.
No.
So that's contrary to Dauds. She's not marked by the outsider, and that's something that allowed us to do a few, to take liberties with the powers and everything, and also with the fact that. She's not dependent on him. But the idea that the outsider is some kind of god is
that's bad.
Yeah, is not. Is in some way is a god. He's not, and he's not the creator of everything. He manipulates everything. He has this power, but I don't think it's not the creator of the universe as we usually think.
I understand.
God is,
He needs to step off his high horse.
Sorry?
He needs to step off his high horse.
Yeah.
Get taught a lesson.
Yeah. But actually, Billy doesn't feel doesn't have the same motives as Corvo or Emily or even Dauds could have to kill him. I think she does it because she's loyal to Dauds. It's more or less like Dauds' story through Billy, I guess.
Interesting.
To be like even more specific, I think the main thing about the outsider is he's been playing a game for a long time. And there is a reason for that. If you're into the lore, you get an idea of why he's playing that kind of game. And the game is as follows. He chooses someone who has been wronged, gives him superhuman powers, and he just stays and watch, will he abuse the power? Because, I mean, without going into details, that's what, you know, that's something that is very important to him, and he's playing that game over and over and over. And he's been playing that game with Emily, with Corvo, with Dauds. The thing is, Dauds is getting old now, and he thinks that it's wrong. Basically, whether or not he's right, Dauds thinks that it's because of those powers that he got that he was led to assassinate the Empress, and he tried to right the wrongs in the fiction, in the DLCs. But since then, he's been like thinking hard about how can we avoid that guy mingling into the affairs of the human beings, and that's basically his motivation to send Billy on that quest. And as Toph said, the fact that Billy isn't marked has also like consequences almost in the gameplay, because she's not subject to this game. The powers that she has, it's not about whether she will abuse them or not. So effectively in the game, it means that the chaos system, the system that made it so that if you kill a lot of people, the world will shift toward darkness, doesn't exist, because she's above that. She's just like a free agent in the world. What she does with this quest is for the player to decide, but there will be no, there won't be anything saying what you're doing is right or wrong. It's really your choice.
Right, so is that influenced by fan feedback? You kind of took a look at the morality system and looked at this standalone chapter and how it could work?
Yeah, it's like, as you say, it comes both ways. It's a bit of, we saw this feedback, and as much as we like this system in Dishonored 2 and in Dishonored, because it's so core to the whole thematic of power abuse. It's a thematic that you find all over the Dishonored world, be it like the Regent abusing power, Delilah abusing power, and specific characters abusing whatever power they have. Will the player do that or not? If you do, it's a lot of fun, but you might feel bad about it. Sure. If you don't, it's harder, but you feel a tad better. Here it's not here we were saying, okay, so people are, some people like it, some don't. Here's an occasion to try something else, because this character effectively doesn't have to abide by this code. And it's been an interesting exploration. I wonder, will people still try to stick to the code that they have, even if there is no validation by anyone, or not? It will be interesting.
Yeah. Of course, so with the adjustment of the morality system and the like, has that changed the overall difficulty or the design philosophy behind how you structure the levels and the difficulty?
I would say not that much, but I mean, it's the world has other consequences. Like it's still a Dishonored type of game, so there are consequences to things that you do. And for me, one of the main interests of the chaos system was that it was influencing the world and it was changing the world in a way. We still have that in a sense. So in some places where when you do something, it has a consequence. It's just not linked to the chaos. We still have this system in game, but it's less constraining, of course.
Let's say it's basically, we always had direct consequences. If you kill that guy, of course he's not there in the next chapter. So if there was a scene with him, the scene will go a different way. That's always there. That's the kind of game we make. We love that. But the whole aggregate of kills versus not kills is what is gone. And you were talking about the difficulty. I would say that one thing that we didn't touch about was the fact that, as I said, the source of our powers are different, which allowed us to play with something else, which is you don't acquire the powers the same way as before. It's not like you find runes and then you buy them in an interface. Now Billy actually starts the adventure with all her powers. which is something completely different. So indeed, the difficulties we thought about, it's adapted to accommodate that. Before we were like, yeah, but what if the player doesn't have powers? What if he has this power instead of that one? Now we know what he has, and we can like provide challenges and situations that accommodate those powers. And I think it was interesting to design situations and levels, etc. Knowing that the players would have those powers. He might not use them, but he has them. So
we still have systemic difficulty. Like if if the alarm goes on, if you do something where the NPCs raises the alarm, then you have more guards coming up. And during, for example, the bank, we have a bank heist in the game, and if you mess up, then of course there will be more guards, and so we still have the difficulty of the game is as in many games, by the way, but it's still responding to your action. So, and in the chaos system was some kind of a way to put it through the entire game, like
It's more of a narrative system, to be honest.
Yeah.
It didn't affect the difficulty that much. I mean, in Dishonored 1 a little bit, but in Dishonored 2 it doesn't change much in terms of patrols and guard count.
In terms of places getting, filled with, blood flies and things like that, yes.
Blood flies instead of guards, so still... I mean, it was never thought of a system that makes the game more difficult if you're playing one way. It was more narrative consequences. The world gets darker more than the game becomes more difficult.
Of course, and the multiple endings and the like.
Yeah, multiple endings with different tone of that same ending. So the events are the same. This character survived. This one is dead. So this is who is ruling Karnaca. This is who is ruling Dunwall. That story doesn't change whether you're high or low chaos. But if you are high chaos, same story, but kind of unpleasant tone.
A little twist on it.
Yeah, exactly. So this time we just focused on direct consequences, and
you can have a good anarchy and a bad anarchy, for example. Bad anarchy is like total chaos, and good anarchy is everybody's deciding by themselves, talking to each other. So it's that's how we manage the chaos in the chaos endings in Dishonored 2.
Right, so that's all sounds very exciting. And so wrapping up here, looking back on the Dishonored series and the characters you've introduced and the journeys they've been on, how do you kind of look back on their character arcs and where the series could be heading, or if there's any spin-offs or maybe other characters you want to bring back or introduce?
I mean, the problem is that at some point you like your world so much that you would almost want a game for each character. I would love to make a game about Granny Rags, personally. I love this character. There's a few in Dishonored 2, like I know our narrative designer Sashka loves Mindy Blanchard from Dishonored 2. She would totally want to play as her. So anyway, it's really nice. Like the options are many, but for us, I think the main thing was we really wanted to wrap up this story, like not start a story about the assassination of the Empress, etc., and then let it last for 10 years or whatever. We wanted to wrap up that story, and hence give a satisfying, I guess, ending for each of those main characters that we've been seeing, and that was like it's interesting when you're trying to say, okay, so how does this guy end now? Because we love Dauds, of course, and just the assumption that he disappeared was not enough, obviously. So we wanted to bring him back and finish that story. Now, I don't think there is like one character now that we left the thread open enough so that we are frustrated about it, at least. Like we kind of, for the main characters at least, we closed the arcs. And yeah, whatever we do next will be pretty different, I guess.
Cool. All sounds great. Well, it was lovely speaking to you, and if I'm switching over in Danish, then så håber jeg også alle jer andre derude er lige så spændte på Dishonored Death of the Outsider, som jeg...
Who's the mark?
The black-eyed bastard responsible for all the chaos.
We're gonna kill the outsider.